Our Nuggets fans, welcome in to Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at BetOnline. And number 38, I am your host, Ryan Blackburn, at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network. And I'm excited to talk about some big news in Nuggets land. Aaron Gordon is going to be in Denver for a very long time. Really excited about this. Really think that this is going to be, I think it's just one of those things that you feel good about. It's one of those things where somebody who has been giving his blood, sweat, and tears to the Nuggets organization for the last few years, it hasn't been like extensively long, but about 3.5 years. And he's probably going to finish his career with more years in Denver than he will in Orlando. And that is an exciting thing for the Nuggets. All you ever want is somebody who identifies with your organization, who, when they have success, can look back at their career and say, I am proud to be a Denver Nugget. And Aaron Gordon, among many others, but not as many as you might think, can really be proud to say he's been a Denver Nugget and has been successful for this organization with this team. And it's just great. It's great to see. And I'm really excited to talk about him. We'll get into the extension number. We'll get into what it means for the Nuggets. And then we've got some other news. The construction around Ball Arena was just approved last night. We'll be able to talk about that and give a little bit of insight into what's happening there. Really quickly, though, this podcast is brought to you by the good folks over at BetOnline, who sent me over new copy this morning that I forgot to pull up on this computer, of course. BetOnline, basketball fans. We've got a one for basketball this time. It's that time of year. The NBA is back. From opening tip-off to buzzer beaters, BetOnline has you covered from the best odds, biggest promotions, and live in-game betting on all your favorite teams. This season, every game matters. BetOnline has every stat, matchup breakdown, and even live odds to bet on during games. And it's not just the NBA. You could get it on football, MLB playoffs, NHL, and even political props if you so choose. Head on over to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering, BetOnline. The game starts here. All right. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. We've got a super chat from Cedric. AG re-signed. Yay. One goal now, win the ship. I agree. This, I think, it's one of the byproducts of doing an extension like this one, where now it's out of the way. Now there's nothing that anybody really needs to worry about here. Michael Porter's locked in for the next 3 years. He's the one who's locked in the least of any of these guys. And you've also got Christian Brown and Peyton Watson and Julian Strawther on rookie scale contracts. So now, after Aaron Gordon has been taken care of, after Jamal Murray has been taken care of, you don't necessarily need to worry too much about contracts for the foreseeable future. You just need to worry about basketball. And that is a great byproduct of all of this, where the Nuggets, I think, over maybe not like super much last year with Murray, but there's at least a thought in the back of the head of like, okay, KCP is on, like he's here, but we'll see what happens with him. Aaron Gordon is going to be up next. Jamal Murray is going to be in the midst there. Assume that he would get paid, but now everybody's kind of locked in and they can turn the attention back to basketball. Really appreciate it. So thank you, Cedric, for the super chat. 42 Ultra says, Cedric, the unofficial sponsor of all Nuggets live shows. I agree. It has been great to have Cedric in the podcast. Great interaction, and always value your input, Cedric, and just everybody in the live show. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Would really appreciate it. Okay. Aaron Gordon, let me actually pull up these numbers really quick, just so that everybody can see what I'm looking at. This is not perfect. This is a projection. This is like with each of the Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon contracts. Those are projections for sure. Jamal Murray's new deal is in there for the Nuggets multi-year salary cap sheet, and Aaron Gordon's new deal is also in there too. So if you will see, Everything that's highlighted in purple for Aaron Gordon is new, although that 22 million number in 2025-26 was based off of the previous contract that he signed. And it shows the good work that both Tim Connolly before him and Calvin Booth now have done with this deal, have done to keep Aaron Gordon in a Nuggets uniform. And here's why. This is a 4-year, $133 million contract extension, technically. What it really is the opt-in of the player option that was signed previously, and then a 3-year, $110 million contract with a player option on the end of that. Um, and that is a big difference. It's also a big difference in how the Nuggets were able to pay Aaron this money. They weren't fully willing to go 4 years, 150 million. I think if pressed, they might have done so. Just because you lose KCP, you lose Bruce Brown before that. I think the Nuggets front office understood, okay, can't lose Aaron Gordon at this point after losing those other two. Um, but what happens here is Aaron Gordon now opts in at the lower number in order to give Denver something back, in order to give them some flexibility in that 2025-26 season. That is next year, not this upcoming year. And what that does is it gives them some flexibility underneath the super tax apron. If you go down all the way, if you're watching along, look at the super tax apron space that says 7.15 million. Again, that is a projection, that is not exact. What it factors in is the total incentives. I added that column into this chart. Aaron Gordon has some incentives in his contract. I think other guys might have some kind of hidden as well. But what this says is that Denver has 7.1 million to work with below the super tax. And that doesn't include, that would include DeAndre Jordan coming off the books, Flacco Chanchar coming off the books. You still have Jalen Pickett and Hunter Tyson at the bottom there. But everybody in that top 10, Jokic, Murray, Porter, Gordon, Zeke, Dario Saric, Russell Westbrook, Christian Brown, Deron Holmes, Julian Strawther, and Peyton Watson. That's actually top 11. Everybody in that top 11 is accounted for next season. And so if things work well for the Nuggets this year, then not only will they be able to retain everybody if they so choose, depending on what Russ is asking for, what Dario Saric is asking for, whether they opt in, opt out. But this gives Denver some flexibility to then use the taxpayer MLE next year, or to make a trade that they need to make, whether it's an aggregation trade for a larger salary or something similar. I think that this was really great work by Calvin Booth. I know that I've had problems with some of the stuff that Calvin Booth has done with this Nuggets group over the course of these last couple years, I'll say. But this was good business. This was a good deal, and I can see the vision now for what the Nuggets are really hoping for. Peyton Watson and Christian Brown in 2025-26 will be on the last year of their rookie deals. After that, in all likelihood, those guys will need to be extended. The Nuggets will have to figure out exactly what they're doing there and who they're going to be extending. That's what this year is for. This year is to figure out how much they can reasonably account to pay Christian Brown, Julian Strawther, Peyton Watson, those guys. That is going to be a very important aspect of this, which is why it is important for those guys to play this year. So I understand it. I think it makes a lot of sense. You can start to see the vision now of why the Nuggets have done what they've done. And I'm looking forward to seeing just everything that happens here with this Nuggets group. But more than that, Aaron means a lot to this Nuggets team. He was traded to the Nuggets in 2021 during kind of the COVID era where things were still a little bit weird and wonky, and the Nuggets were still trying to get up to their top level. Immediately when Aaron Gordon was acquired in 2021, you could see the vision. And then Jamal Murray tore his ACL. And then the year after that, Michael Porter had to have a third back surgery. And through it all, Nikola Jokic and Aaron Gordon got very close. They figured out how to play with each other, how to maximize each other's strengths, and they became a better duo as a result of it. And they became great friends as a result of it. Those guys really value and care for each other. It's so clear just being around the team how much those guys really connect and how much Aaron Gordon connects with everybody. He's everybody's brother at this point. And everything that happened with Drew Gordon over the course of like these past 6 months and his unfortunate untimely passing, like the team came closer around Aaron Gordon and have really brought him into the fold between him and Michael Porter also kind of dealing with family tragedy. The team is close, especially around those two. And it's not always shown. It's not always like this thing that is described and like nobody's writing a buddy comedy about any of those guys getting together because everybody kind of went their own separate ways this offseason trying to figure out what the heck they were supposed to do after the loss that happened in the playoffs. But I do think that if Denver is going to get back on track, if they are going to be the team that you think that they can be, it's going to be with Aaron Gordon at the center. It's going to be with Aaron Gordon ever present, doing the things that he's been doing all along. He is going to have to make a transition in his game to not just be physical, but to be more of a jump shooter at various points in this contract. And I think he can. The jumper looks pretty good in preseason. We'll see whether it sticks in the regular season, but I have no doubt that he's going to try to do that, and the Nuggets will do what they can to build a rotation around Aaron Gordon's evolving strengths and weaknesses. What those look like, whether that means playing some backup five in the future, whether that means only playing with Jokic. I don't know what that's ultimately going to be. But for now, you keep Aaron Gordon on lock. You make sure that you have him while everything else might be kind of in flux for this Nuggets group. This was a good deal. And I think the flexibility that Aaron Gordon kind of gave back the Nuggets in exchange for a player option and a trade kicker, it means that he's probably not going to get traded. It means that he's going to be a guy that like the Nuggets are going to value. And unless the team outside of Denver values him way more and Denver just kind of has to do a deal, I just think that Denver is going to be Aaron Gordon's final main destination for his prime years and for what he can contribute to a team. So really excited for that. Aaron's a great guy to cover. He's going to be a lot of fun. And I think that this team has a chance to win a title with him on this contract, at least one more. I think that they could win multiple, but I think at least one more title with Aaron Gordon is a definite possibility. So we'll see what happens. But when we come back, we are going to chat about just other things that this impacts, other kind of ripple effects that happen within the Nuggets because of this deal with Aaron Gordon. We will be right back on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we're back. Pickaxe and Roll. Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Appreciate all the love and support on the podcast as always, folks. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really appreciate it. I think that Denver's going to have to figure out how to stagger their group a little bit better. When you pay four guys as much as Denver's paying them with Murray, Porter, Gordon, and Jokic, you can either play them all together and try to maximize that time, or you can try to stagger them a little bit and figure out how to build some sort of group that makes sense and lineups that make sense with the starters in the second unit. You can do both of those things. But I think for the Nuggets, and I think because of how much money is committed to the top level, Denver's unable to commit money lower because of the money that they've now committed to their top four. And so it's one of the reasons why I have talked about staggering. Nikola Jokic at practice yesterday talked about how he liked the blended lineups between the starters and bench a little bit and thinks that it makes sense to mix things up a little bit more and not get too stale with different groups that they're throwing out there. And I think that makes sense. I like the idea of Jokic playing with Julian Strother and Russell Westbrook and Peyton Watson. I like the idea of a Murray, Porter, Gordon, Strother, Dario Saric lineup. I think that there are different things that the Nuggets can do to keep teams on their toes, to keep them in situations where they're always like it's kind of a relentless attack that the Nuggets are able to throw out there because the starters, at least one or two starters, is always on the floor. I think that's a really good idea. And it's going to have to be a mentality shift for Michael Malone. It's going to have to be a mentality shift for everybody on the team because the identity of the Nuggets in each of the past two seasons was centered around how elite their starting unit was together and how much he didn't want to break that up if you could help it. Basically, what the Nuggets did in both seasons was they play their starters about 24 minutes per game together. And then when Murray went to the bench so that he could stagger with the second group, they would play Bruce Brown with the starters and effectively have like another 8 to 10 minutes of that look every single game. So the team very much was like one version of themselves or two versions of themselves. And because the same was said with Reggie Jackson last year or Christian Brown or whoever you would put in as kind of that stagger option with the starters. Denver's likely going to start there at the beginning of this season because it's easy. And because Michael Malone, I think, just wants something straightforward. My guess at the beginning of the season with the rotation that he's going to deploy on Thursday is that it's going to be Westbrook, Murray, Strother, Watson, Saric off the bench. Murray will stagger like he has in years past. And that is where the Nuggets will kind of have to figure out what to do. That may be a bad idea. It may not be the right thing for the Nuggets to do. And I tend to think that mixing in the lineups where Aaron Gordon is playing with Russell Westbrook and Dario Saric or Michael Porter. And I've talked about that lineup specifically a lot on this show where he's playing with the bench guys. I think there is a massive, massive benefit to being able to do that because the Nuggets need to find ways to be sustainable and talented throughout. It cannot just be a starters versus bench thing. It has to be a team thing. And I think this extension really crystallized that for me. Like there are no reinforcements coming because of this deal, because of the Murray extension especially. Denver's not going to be able to trade for and they might be able to sneak one in like a Jordan Clarkson type or somebody that could be impactful but might not be. It would be almost impossible for the Nuggets to maximize that level and maximize their group by adding somebody else of rotation caliber without giving up too much. I think that they are mostly locked into this group, this 11-person group. Um, as I mentioned, it includes Jokic, Murray, Porter, Gordon, and right now Christian Brown in that starting lineup. And then you've got Russell Westbrook, Dario Saric, Peyton Watson, Zeke Naji, Julian Strother, and we'll include Deron Holmes into that. He will be part of Denver's group going forward. I think that there is at least a massive desire for Denver to kind of break up that starting lineup a little bit during the game to allow other players to play with Jokic, allow other players to play with different lineups, and then see what actually works going forward, see what their identity needs to be going forward. I think that this extension really helps crystallize that for me, just in ways that I didn't fully expect. This team has a shot at winning a title. I know I've been negative over the course of these last few weeks, especially, but I wanted to make it clear that this team does have a shot over the course of the life of this Aaron Gordon contract. Effectively, like Jokic has 4 more years on his contract. I think it's really over the next 4, maybe 5 years, which is why Aaron Gordon has, like, he's being paid through the next 5 years. That's why Murray's being paid through the next 5 years. I think it's really over the next 5 years that this team has a shot. And if they can make that work and get 2 titles during that time, or even 1 title during that time, all of it will be worth it. Because the Nuggets have never been in this position before where they have to count the number of titles as to whether they're being successful or not. They already got 1. That was the most important one. It's the most important title in their franchise history. Now it's all about trying to get as many as you possibly can. And letting Aaron Gordon go would have been a signal that they didn't think that they could do that. Keeping Aaron, making sure that everybody's locked in with this current group. I think there's still a level of belief that the team can get through it. Murray's going to have to stay healthy. Guys are going to have to evolve. Michael Malone's going to have to be better. Deron Holmes is going to have to get back healthy going forward and hopefully provide them with another rotation player over the course of his recovery time and going forward. Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, Julian Strawther, one of those guys has to develop into the consistent starter the Nuggets need. And it might have to be 2 guys. The last thing I will say, yes, this contract with Aaron Gordon gives them flexibility next season. The year after that is one I will be looking at for Michael Porter Jr. Because, yes, right now Denver has a little bit of flexibility below the super tax. But I just think that in that final year of Aaron Gordon's or of Michael Porter's deal, potentially, that could be one where you might look to make a change, especially with that being in line with Christian Brown, Peyton Watson getting their new contracts, and Julian Strawther's contract potentially on the way the year after. That's a tough thing for people to think about, but that's just what the natural part of this business is. At that point, Jokic will be under contract for 1 year and then have a player option. I assume he'll pick it up, but like if he's still anywhere as good as he is, he might be able to decline that and be able to be like, hey, I just wanna go win a championship somewhere. If things aren't fully working out, that might be the pressure point the Nuggets decide to pick is Michael Porter getting traded in his final year of his contract and then figuring out what the heck to do with it. I don't know because I've talked about that a couple times. I've talked about that, looked at that. There are things that Denver can do to continue the life of things. Michael Porter has obviously looked really good in preseason, and I hope that he plays himself into a new contract extension because if he does, that probably means that the Nuggets have really high playoff hopes, really high championship hopes. And if they can get behind that, then that would be great. That would be tremendous. Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, we are going to chat about the Ball Arena project being approved and preview the games that are happening tonight. Basketball is back, people. There are games happening tonight, and I am looking forward to it. We'll be right back. But first, I want to tell everybody about number 38, the bar and sort of venue that Mile High Sports has been using for the last, I'll say not 6 months, maybe 8 months or so. The partnership that we've established with number 38 has allowed for some awesome watch parties, some awesome opportunities to be able to view games like the CU Boulder games on Sunday or on Saturdays. There will be some more Nuggets parties on Sundays, but there will also be absolutely, definitely watch parties to watch the Nuggets in, I think early November is when one will be. I believe November 9th. Don't quote me on it, but I think there's one November 9th. But I also think that there's one on November 23rd against the, what is it? Against the Lakers. I think it's the Lakers there for sure. So that will be fascinating to watch. Obviously, we'll talk about the Lakers in this next segment. So should be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Number 38 is the place to be to help watch us and to help support us in what we're doing here at Mile High Sports. Head on over to Rhino to go get in on number 38 and let them know that you came from us. I'll be right back on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we're back. Pickaxe and Roll, Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. We've got some trolls in the comments section here. I'd worry about your own team, my guy. Lost Carl Anthony Towns. Maybe you'll be better. Maybe you'll be worse. We'll just have to wait and see how it works because that defense is good. The offense has not been good. So we will see whether they can survive for the entire regular season and playoff run. But before we get into that, let's talk about this construction project around Ball Arena. I will actually, I didn't link that article. There's a good article on Denverite that I wanted to link when I was doing some stuff. Let me throw it into the chat here because that would be a good thing. All right. Article linked on Denverite about the Ball Arena development being approved. That is going to be a big deal over the course of the next basically 2 decades for Denver. Effectively, what's happening is the Nuggets are going to be, or like Nuggets and Avs are going to be undergoing a little bit of a revamp over the course of this time. Denver, or like Nuggets and Avs, are going to be in Denver until 2050. That was guaranteed by this deal for the Ball Arena development project. Stan Kroenke owns all of this land. He's trying to make sure that it is a venue, a place where people want to come hang out, want to come be around. And I think it's a great idea. I honestly do. He got a lot of universal support. There were some questions about like viewing angles for downtown and trying to see the mountains and things like that. But mostly everybody's on board with what this is going to do. Effectively, there will be apartments. There will be an amphitheater or arena of some sort that seats 5,000 people, like a 5,000 seat venue. Could it be an outdoor viewing area for Nuggets or Avalanche playoff games similar to Jurassic Park in Toronto? Remember that back in 2019 where everybody was outside, everybody was watching. That could be a great opportunity to sort of make it an area where people want to hang out. There will be apartments, but there's also going to be low-income housing apartments, which I think is a great thing for trying to keep Denver in that cheaper range and trying to make it affordable to live in the city. There's going to be a 3-acre park with grass all over. There's going to be art. There's going to be parking garages for people that need to park their cars, but it's mostly going to be designed with walking, biking, and public transit in mind. And I think that's also great too, because Nugget, like it's a really tough city to drive in, Denver, and I honestly think that this is going to be a really fun thing for a lot of people. But we'll look forward to it. We'll definitely see how. We'll see how that's going to go. It didn't promise that the Nuggets were going to be in Ball Arena. That was kind of a curious thing that I read. It was a little detail that it said that they would be in Ball Arena or in another arena nearby. So there's no promise that Ball Arena is actually going to be there as part of this. I wonder if during the process of this construction, the Nuggets decide to sign off on a new arena in general. Obviously, Ball Arena was previously Pepsi Center. It was created back in, I think, 1999. That is 25 years ago. And the life of a venue is often, unless you want to do major revamps and major redesigns, the life of a venue is often about 30 years. As a sport management major, I've learned this. So that's something that's coming up. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see whether Ball Arena is going to be kind of revamped and they're going to give it a redesign and refurbishing, or are they going to build a new arena and probably by extension practice facility for the Nuggets and the Avs? This is sort of the starting off process for that. And now they've got the approvals. They signed off on a lot of other things, breaking ground and making sure that they are doing what they need to do to get that done. But I'm looking forward to seeing what this comes out looking like. I think this is going to be a lot of fun for a lot of people. And this could be a great opportunity to make what is kind of a dead area of downtown in terms of just parking lots and not a lot of great venue space. Like this could turn it into something really, really impressive, and I think turn Denver into like this, at least this aspect of Denver, into some place that's a destination spot. So I'm looking forward to seeing it for sure. Um, Ken Goldman asks, Ryan, what do you think of the lost parking? Where will fans park? There will be parking garages. I saw that in the article. There will be parking garages. There will be things that fans can do. Um, it's going to be a learning curve, a learning process for everybody. I definitely don't have all the answers, but just from what I read in that article, it seems like there will be some built in solutions there for folks. I think public transit will also be better in that location, and they'll try to come up with ways like better walking areas, better ways for people to kind of settle in and really connect. But the light rail is always a great option there, and I think that this is going to be, it's one of those things where they're going to design it around what the light rail already has going for it, and there will be plenty of light rail stops right at Ball Arena, things like that. But there will be parking garages. I think that they'll be available. They might even go underground. It wouldn't surprise me if they would do that. So going to be a very interesting process. I don't know what it's ultimately going to look like, but I just know that there will be something. Okay, enough of that. Let's talk about the upcoming games. 2 games tonight to kick off the NBA season. The Knicks play at the Celtics tonight. You get the first look at Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges at center, or not at center, but Karl Anthony Towns at center, Mikal Bridges at like small forward for the Knicks. That is a great starting five. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that group comes together. And they'll play at the Celtics, where ring night almost always gets weird. Everybody, like Nuggets fans, know it. It's generally one of those things where something odd happens, and I wonder what odd thing is going to happen today. But it should be a fun one. One thing I am looking forward to: the starting five for the Knicks versus the starting five for the Celtics. Realistically, Mikal Bridges will probably be guarding Jason Tatum, and OG Anunoby will probably be guarding Jaylen Brown, or vice versa. That is a great matchup. Just a great matchup for both teams to sort of figure out what that looks like. That's an interesting one. And yes, Drew Holiday or Derek White will probably be guarding Jalen Brunson. But who's going to guard Karl Anthony Towns is a very interesting question as well. It's probably going to be what, Kristaps Porzingis? Is it going to be, if he's not healthy, is it Al Horford? How is that going to look? I don't know, but I think that Cat has a great opportunity for the Knicks to really have a strong season. I think he's better defensively than a lot of his biggest critics say he is. Where, yes, he didn't play as much center last year, but I think he learned he grew up a little bit over the course of these past 2 years. And with what they were expecting, I think that he will be a better center defender going forward. And the Knicks are just going to be a machine as long as they're healthy. Though they did already lose Precious Achua for a couple weeks, and they're already down Mitchell Robinson. So the depth is going to be a big concern for the Knicks going forward. I do think the Celtics still win that because it's ring night. That's obviously going to be a thing. There will be some chemistry things that the Knicks have to figure out. So the Celtics I would pick, but going to be fun regardless. And then T-Wolves Lakers. Objectively funny to have the Lakers on, by the way. Like, they lost in the first round this last year. They lost to Denver the year before. I understood them being on against Denver the year before because Denver had just beat them in the Western Conference Finals on the way to a title. But why are they on now? It's really just ratings. And it's just like, all right, couldn't have come up with a better rival for the T-Wolves other than the Lakers? No, they just wanted to have a lot of money. So, look, it's going to be the first look at Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo in Minnesota. I think that both guys will fit in. Like, DiVincenzo will fit in almost seamlessly. That one I'm not concerned about. Randall's going to be interesting because at least with Cat, he would be a more consistent spacer. Randall's a little bit more of a driver. He's going to be screening a lot. He's going to be doing a lot of diving. Whether he can screen and roll into space with Rudy Gobert is going to be interesting. I think they figured that out, and he's obviously been able to be successful with it with Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein with the Knicks. So Randall's comfortable doing that, but I wonder if Ant has a little bit of an efficiency drop. He's probably going to be taking more threes, so maybe his efficiency won't drop at all. But when he drives into the lane, it's going to get kind of crowded. There's going to be a crowd that he's going to be seeing, so I'm curious to see what it looks like with him. But there was always the thought, and not just me, but other people. I always kind of thought that Towns was a bit superfluous in Minnesota. When Ant took over as the best player and clearly the guy they were building around, and then when Rudy and Nas were both signed as centers, there's obviously a thought, hey, is Towns needed here? Is he going to be somebody who's necessary? I think the answer is no. Julius Randle, I think, is sort of a B version of what he provides for them. He's not going to provide the size as much, but he is strong, of course. But he is a little bit quicker against some of the smaller teams when they need to play them. It's going to be put to the test. Going to be fascinating to see. Will the Lakers look any different with JJ Redick coaching them? When will we see LeBron and Bronny James? What's that going to look like? Is Bronny going to be horrible? Is he going to be okay? I think I know he's probably going to struggle, but still, everybody wants to see it. Everybody wants that experience of being able to see a father and son play together in the NBA. Would obviously be cool. So no questions there. I think the Wolves win. They are playing at the Lakers, but I don't think the Lakers are that good, at least in comparison to a team like Minnesota. So should be interesting. But yeah, like I'm looking forward to it regardless. Should be fun. Good way to kick off the NBA calendar. Would have probably preferred Wolves versus Thunder, but obviously the league was like, there's no way we're going to get any ratings for that one. So they put the Lakers there. Even though I think that Wolves Thunder would be way more interesting. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it, folks. I think that's going to do it for me here on this episode of Pickaxe and Roll. Good to see Aaron Gordon locked down. He's going to be a big part of what the Nuggets do for years to come. Very excited to see how he sort of transitions into not just being in his prime, but being a veteran, being somebody who the team can count on and somebody that counts on in life. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the show. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. No show tomorrow. I will do a show on Thursday morning previewing Nuggets versus Thunder. Should be very fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hit that like button. We'll talk to you guys very soon. Forgot to push the button.